All right, that was Cruz from earlier today. Now, we're going to go and talk to Senator Rand Paul, who I think is he. I think it's all right. Here comes the tape of Senator. Joining us now, Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul. Senator Paul, as always, welcome back to the Kudlow Report. I want to ask you about the Ted Cruz thing. After what I thought was a very courageous and brave, 21-hour filibuster, do you think he changed any minds in the Senate, whether it's Republicans or border state senators or red state senators? Did he change any minds?
Well, I think the American public is with us in this battle. And I think sometimes the American public is about a decade in advance of the legislators up here. So I think the senators are behind. I think a few senators are coming our way. But I would say that the senators maybe aren't quite hearing, from the public enough, because the public really is against Obamacare and thinks it's bad for the country.
Will the Republican Senate conference or caucus welcome Ted Cruz back in? You hear about acrimony and dislike and anger at him. The guy really tried his heart out to make a point about Obamacare. Will the Republican senators welcome him back in?
Absolutely. I think some of that's overblown. Those people in the media, they try to make things a little more than they are. So I think it's not as bad as some have said. And I would say that the one thing that actually unifies us as a caucus more than anything is that we're all opposed to Obamacare. We're all opposed to funding it. We've been opposed to it from the very beginning. Not one Republican voted for it. So really, it's actually something that unifies us.
All right, let's get down to some brass tacks. In another interview, a recent interview a couple days ago, you said regarding the continuing resolution debate, you were willing to compromise. You used that word, compromise. And I'd like to ask you what you meant by that. What would constitute a compromise?
Well, the president's getting 100% of what he wants. He's getting Obamacare passed only by Democrats, no Republican input. So any of the compromises would be him acknowledging that they made some mistakes. I think the medical device tax is a mistake, and I think it'll lead to inhibition of innovation in our country. I think that forcing people, individuals and employers to do this is a mistake. He's delayed the employer mandate. Maybe he could be convinced to compromise and delay the individual mandate. Or maybe the whole thing's so complicated and rife with so many problems for the future that maybe we delay the whole thing for another year. Those are what I have in mind when I talk of compromise that are short of defunding, which I'm still in favor of. I think I won't vote to fund it. But if we don't get quite there, maybe the Democrats would agree to fix some of the problems that I think it's going to create.
All right. That's heartening. Let me ask you, there's talk today coming out of the House and the House leadership. A lot of discussions. Nothing is written in cement. But there's talk today about putting up the congressional exemption. Congress and its staff should not be exempt from Obamacare. That they're going to send the CR back to the Senate and insist that go in. Would you back that?
I don't want any part of it, Larry. I don't want Obamacare. Please don't make me have Obamacare. But if I'm going to get it, Justice Roberts damn sure should get it too, and so should President Obama. So if they make me take it, I want Justice Roberts there with me. I want him to come over and sign up at the same exchange, and I want President Obama to come on down from the White House, and he gives up any kind of employer subsidy he has, and he signs up for Obamacare too. If we do it for all federal employees, I'll vote for it.
All right, you'll buy into that. So that's what. The other thing that's being rumored is, as you mentioned before, the individual mandate. There's talk that the House will send the CR back to the Senate and include the individual mandate. So I assume you would rally for that.
Well, here's my prediction, Larry. Something's going to happen in the next couple of hours that nobody has any idea was going to happen. I think there may be some other way that the Democrats are going to get this thing derailed in the Senate. It's different than any of the votes we've been talking about.
What you mean on that, Senator? What you thinking about?
I think there may be some other objections. I think there may be some kind of procedural objection to the whole thing going forward. I don't know this yet, but I think there's a possibility that somehow it fails on a procedural objection. That's the rumor I'm hearing.
And if that were the case, that would take longer to fix and would bring us closer to a shutdown, would it not?
Maybe. It means we bounce around a few more times until there's a final resolution. So I'm not sure what happens, but I do know there's a lot of procedural votes even in the mix that we're talking about, that make it very confusing for the public to understand.
Heck, it's confusing to me, and I served 4 years in the executive branch. But let me just ask you, are these procedural issues about votes, 60 votes versus 51 votes?
No, I think there may be some people complain about this not meeting things like the budgetary caps, things about whether or not they've exceeded limits that are in the sequestration.
I am told that, by the way. I heard that. In fact, I heard that this afternoon. In fact, sir, I heard that the House version of this deal is actually, I don't know, $20 billion above the budget caps in the sequester, and that the Senate version is going to be, I don't know, $50 or $60 billion. This would even be, I think, for just 1 year, beginning with this CR. So you're in violation. You'd be in violation of the sequesters. That's what should stop everything.
And what I've been saying all along is the sequester has been the one thing that has proven that we can at least try to restrain the growth of spending. And it's been a good thing to see, guess what? The planes are not crashing into each other. The meat's not ransored. We still have meat inspectors. We've still got, air traffic controllers. So I think really exceeding the sequester is a bad idea. And so it's confusing to a lot of us who really oppose Obamacare. What do we do if there's an objection raised saying, oh, but it exceeds the sequester, so now you're willing to spend more money, but you're going to get rid of Obamacare at the same time? That's a bit of a confusing issue.
Well, that's part of the problem. And as you know, Senator Reid pulled back even on the length of the continuing resolution. It's supposed to run through December 15th. He wants November 15th. And a lot of us suspected that's because he wants to put some more spending in. Last one is one of the options on the table. There's talk about 1 year ending the sequester, delaying the sequester for 1 year while you delay the individual mandate. Does that work for you?
No, I won't vote to delay the sequester. That's a big mistake. And really what we have to keep in context of this whole thing, Larry, is that this isn't just about Obamacare. It's also about, should we continue to borrow $1 trillion every year? We have a $17 trillion debt. We're borrowing $30,000 every second. And so when we say, oh, this is just a CR, it's just $988 billion, realize they're spending your kids' money and your grandkids' money, and they should be ashamed. And this shouldn't be about shutting the government down or even Obamacare. It ought to be about not spending more than we're taking in. That's what we ought to do.
And the economy at large, and the whole economy for that matter, which has been sputtering for years. Senator Rand Paul, Kentucky Republican, we appreciate your time, sir, very much.
Thanks, Larry.